Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we're relaxing as per usual. What we're going to speak about? Don't really know, to be honest. We'll just sort of vibe out and see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. Did I ever? I did. I was like, did I record another crab show? And I did today, so good. Otherwise there would be no episode going out tomorrow, which would be bad. But good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 11:08 PM on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. Yeah, I don't know what to talk about. And anyone excited for new Genshin Impact patch tomorrow? New Zenderstone Zero banner? I know they're not really the most exciting things in the world, I suppose, but yeah, I'm just trying to think what to talk about. Oh no, the Sway one. I can't believe it wasn't the Order of the Red Mage or whatever they're called. The ones who never win. And thus is very impossible, I think, to get that avatar. But that's okay. What are we going to talk about today? I'm not really sure, mind you. I'm just sort of thinking what to even talk about in the first place. What's happened recently? Anything interesting? Anything of note? Anything which has been like, whoa, yeah, that's kind of cool. Not what I can think of off the top of my head, which is, that makes it seem like a shame or anything, but it's not. It's not really. Things are sort of chilling. I think the next thumbnail art, I've not worked on for a little bit because it turns out that Everhood at least has 2 more episodes in it, so it's good for this week. So it might be something I'll finish off on Saturday or Sunday. I don't really know which way I'll end up being, but it's basically like halfway done. Like the colours are all done. I think the background is halfway done. I will just be shading, but it's actually like relatively easy shading. This one, if anything, and I'm not saying that as like a shot towards this art style or anything. Very much not the case. This is more so, if anything, well, it's rather fortunate that it's something a little bit simpler. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. Anyway, Valentine's Day coming up soon. That could be exciting for people. Could also be rather indifferent to people. I don't know. Depends what you have planned. Yeah, what I'm just trying to think of something, anything which has been on my mind to speak about, but there's not really been much, you know. I think life's been pretty chill, life's been pretty good. It's a normal day, if anything. I'm playing a bit more Valorant, you know, late night sort of team deathmatches and all that. Am I getting better? I'm not sure if I'm getting better. Like, I think I am getting better, but I think it's hard to say. Like, it's not in, I'm not like drastically getting better, I think, but I think my aim is slowly getting better. I'm very much conscious of the fact that I keep aiming towards the ground when I don't mean to. Not the ground, but I'm aiming at people's chest height rather than actually at their heads. D&D. I was going to say soon is not really what I was talking about. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Arshas games. What should we talk about? What's been going on? What can we report on? Do what you want to do. Not really what I had in mind. I started watching I found a new YouTuber called Funky. Is that it? Funky? I don't know. But they have a very fascinating thing where they sort of do like a video game essays, kind of. They're more like opinion pieces. I think they're not so much like video game analysts necessarily. But, you know, they have a nice vibe to them. And they also have like a very well animated video to them. But something which is very crazy, I think, is how well animated a lot of these, like, what initially feels like smaller YouTubers or whatever, you know, but there must be like an entire team behind them, right? Because obviously it's not like one person can create this crazy animation. But I wonder how it comes to pass in the first place. I guess if you just have a YouTube channel that starts getting popular and you know you're doing it yourself with very simplistic ones, you start hiring people to make it more fancy. I don't really know how it branches out from that, or how it happens in the first place. But yeah, this funky YouTuber, very cool, has a very nice sort of animation style. On the video essays, I suppose at first place. And apparently they used to make TF2 animations or something. But I found it fascinating because of we covered a video about Deadlock, and I was just like, oh yeah, you know, Deadlock is a game I haven't played in ages. You know, very much didn't stick around much in our circle. I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way or something. I think it's just kind of hard for any MOBA now to sort of break through, especially within our sort of friend circle, especially because like League is such a dominating force, and even then League is sort of like, people are like, it's fine. I don't think there's like high levels of thrill or anything or League anymore. Not that people necessarily hate it, but certainly it's been like on a bit of an iffy trend here and there, or some of its more meta decisions, shall we say. But yeah, Deadlock is something which I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna like point at my friends and be like, there are issues or anything, because I myself I didn't really get all that into it, to be honest. But hearing the video that he made, and I was like, you know, oh gosh, I very much see the appreciation behind it. Because one thing I did find from Deadlock, which when I was playing it, I was like, if I understood how this movement system worked and took the time to learn it, seems like it would go pretty crazy. And it definitely does. Like, I mean, the gameplay footage and videos that he has is pretty crazy. Like, I saw it and I was like, whoa, this is like absolute insanity to see someone like doing this. And it raises an interesting point, I suppose, which maybe is more to do with my very sort of goal-oriented style of appreciation for things. That I'm like, if I had that ability to do all that crazy stuff in Deadlock, you know, like, just imagine like immediately, like, I didn't have to do anything and suddenly boom, I have like 12 hours or something, not 12 hours, 2,000 hours of experience or something within the game. Would that make me appreciate it more? And I don't know, to be necessary, to be honest. Like, is it something, I suppose then the question becomes, is it something inherently within Deadlock which didn't jive with me necessarily? Or is it the fact that, you know, it's not too obtuse necessarily for people to learn, because I don't think that's right. I think it's too obtuse for me right now to learn. You know, it's too much commitment, of which I'm not willing to, well, commit to in the first place. And is that prohibitive? Is that something which maybe I look at subconsciously or consciously and go, yeah, I'm not doing that? Yeah, genuinely the answer is I don't really know. I suppose the answer is probably yes. But I can't tell you if it was like, if I suddenly gained that knowledge, like, is it the fact of a lack of knowledge, or is it the fact that the time to get the knowledge is the difficult and tiresome part? Well, maybe tiresome is the wrong word. Maybe you know what I mean though, right? Like, I guess the question is, how much of your appreciation of something which is a continuous skill you learn comes from the journey of learning and from the executing of the fruits of a labour what you learn. And you might say this is just like some very sort of roundabout way of saying the journey versus the destination, and I suppose in some ways it is, but as someone who does, you know, give appreciation to the destination as well, I feel like when you say journey versus destination, it feels like a lot of the time the big hint, the big push is like, obviously you should be appreciating the journey more than the destination, which I always think is a little bit unfair, you know. But I'm not saying that. The honest answer is that probably they both should, in reasonably equal measure, be important. Like, if only the journey is important, then I suppose there's no need for a destination in the first place. If only the destination is important, then you should do whatever is literally the easiest way to get there, regardless of a journey. When I think most is learned from having the most fulfilling journey for the reward of whatever the final, well, I'm not going to say final destination because that's a horror movie, but you know what I mean, right? Now, again, I don't really know if that's true or not, but it just sort of feels that way, right? To me personally, that I feel like there's almost like a bias against the destination over the journey versus destination, when really, as in many things, I feel like they're things which should really go hand in hand rather than being opposed forces for each other. But yeah, I don't know. 'Cause I mean, like, Valorant at the moment is fun on the journey, and I'm sure the destination would be reasonably fun as well, but maybe the destination isn't fun. I don't know. But me looking at Deadlock, I guess the journey wasn't fun enough. So maybe that's the thing, you know. There's like a certain threshold balance between journey and destination, which needs to sort of exist. And for Deadlock, the initial journey wasn't fun enough for me to want to stick it through to try and make it to the destination, or which it balances. Do I say that destination doesn't exist? No. I think it probably does exist. I think there's probably a skill level or amount of time of hours or something I sink into a game like Deadlock in which I play it and I'd be like, yes, this is fun. I'm driving with it. And maybe that amount is actually a lot lower than I think it is. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised about that. But what I would say about that is, I don't know, at the moment that hasn't been the case. But yeah, again, I don't think I supercharged with Valorant when it first came out, but you know, times have changed within the game, and times have changed within myself, I suppose, that circumstances are different now, and now it's sort of starting to click. I mean, I'm sure part of it is the fact that my friends, like, I wouldn't have gone back into it if my friend didn't start playing it again, because there was like, on the time that Clove was released, I was very curious, being like, maybe I'll sort of give it a go again, and then I was like, okay, it didn't stick again, at this point. And I'm sure it's sort of like a sort of self-fulfilling cycle, right? You know, you start playing something if your friends play it as well, then you're more encouraged to play it as well, and it helps each other, and especially, you know, as I always say, you know the line, humans are social creatures. But to a certain extent, I think it is true inherently of yourself naturally having an influence, right? Certainly, but I think there was a long period where I had no interest in playing games with like I'm not sure competitive mindset's the right word, but the sort of like achievement focused mindset of like improving skills or whatever, and thus that sort of rules out a lot of competitive games, because I'm like, I don't really care to get better at the game, thus the only point for me to play the game is for amusement, is for fun, hence I basically played only 8 rounds or something in League of Legends. But now, I don't know, maybe some sort of thresholds have changed internally in my mind, or maybe the circumstances are different to change your thresholds, or maybe legitimately I just, you know, change my mind about that sort of thing. You know, maybe I'm like, if it's like a continuous graph, I suppose, on how much I care about improving attainment at like a competitive game averaged in general, you know, that has like increased in the past like year or so. I don't know. My guess would have been that since I had a craving to play Valorant back when Clove was released, that probably it was actually somewhat close to a threshold, but it just wasn't enough. But now we're at the threshold where a lot of people are playing Valorant, it's enough to sort of push me personally over that threshold, to the part where I'm like, yeah, I'm playing team death matches in my own time. Maybe at some point I'll start playing competitive in my own time. Probably not. I think a threshold of that I can like internally feel like how far away it is. But certainly I don't mind duo queuing or trio queuing or whatever. Here and there. Depends. The biggest downside, I think, really to competitive games is really how much time they take up, if anything. Because, you know, if I spend like an evening playing like Valorant, what's that, maybe like 4 matches, 5 matches or something, that's like 4 or 5 hours I could have spent, you know, learning to draw properly, or, you know, writing, or doing some other sort of interest or hobby of mine. Which, if anything, goes all the way back to the full circle thing I always talk about. There's not enough time in the world. But there really is a lot of time in the world at the same time. It's more of a understanding, I suppose, really, of what you want, which perhaps is the most important part. Anyway, so this is a very long-winded way of me saying that I think both the journey and destination should get, you know, props. I don't think it's so exclusively one or the other, you know. I don't think it should be something where it's like, oh, only the destination matters, only the journey matters. They both matter, they both go hand in hand, and they both go skipping down the lane of the journey we call life. To the destination that we call the end of life. That makes it sound quite negative, but hopefully you know what I mean by that, right? Because, I don't know, I guess part of me is just like, why can't you appreciate? Like, I think it's just, like, maybe I have my own internal bias, not internal bias, well, I mean, I obviously have my own internal biases, but I feel like there's sort of like a big wave of things of being like, only the journey should matter, not the destination. But, you know, and I think in a sense, right, that is necessarily true, you know, that does matter. And probably, I would say in most situations that maybe the journey should matter more, a little bit more than the destination for the average person. Not for everyone, not in every situation, and not in every case. Because I think in most cases that it should be relatively close to each other. You know, somewhere between like 37 to 70-30 split, at the very least. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with this. I don't even know if it's necessarily true that there's that strong a bias towards the fact that the journey should be prioritised over the destination. It just feels like that's a model for a lot more stories than the destination over the journey. And I also think that's fair as well, because I think it's more inherently easier to desire the destination over the journey. So really, I guess the lessons aren't so much about saying the journey's better than the destination, but it's more like appreciate the journey as well as the destination, because it's a lot easier to appreciate where you end up rather than the tribulations that you had to go through to get there. But to be fair, I feel like I know a decent amount of people who actually value the journey a lot more than the destination. So perhaps I'm a minority here. I have a friend who I spoke with a lot about it, because I don't think I'm the extreme of only appreciating the destination over the journey, but I would say at least maybe compared to the average person, I appreciate the destination a lot more proportionally than the journey. She would be like the sort of the other end. She's almost like extremely the other end, where she appreciates the journey way more than the destination. And if anything, I suppose this just goes to the human condition of being able to make friends with lots of different people, lots of different opinions, as you get exposed to different thoughts, perspectives. You don't necessarily have to agree with them, you don't necessarily have to live by them, but at least being able to understand and see where they're coming from can give you a new perspective in your own things, can make you understand your own beliefs, wants, desires as well, which I think can only really be a mutually beneficial thing, really. Anyway, the long and short of it is, the journey and the destination are both things which go hand in hand, in my opinion. Do not skimp on one for the other. You should be able to appreciate both. But if you're at the beginning of this lesson, I suppose, then you probably have a bias towards the destination, so learn to appreciate the journey. You know, context, I suppose, matters is really one, but the overarching lesson from all this. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode off here, so if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see you again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.